New on Curiosity Stream. She was a loving wife, a devoted mother. She also stole atomic secrets and gave them to the Soviets. Meet the woman whose deception kick-started the Cold War on the spy who stole the atom bomb. And
what if they catch you?
Then I shall be shot.
They're coming! Come back!
relive history's most death-defying escapes. It's Impossible Escapes, Civil War. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
Oh, fiddlesticks! What, Wilbur? We just got hit and I think my back has all been out of shape.
You gotta talk with those whippersnappers at the Advocates Law Firm. They're the best injury lawyers around.
What? Pipe down, Clarence! Abner's telling me about the lawyers and the advocates. So what happened to you, Abner?
I was walking across the street with the light when some young punk came screeching around the corner. I lost a toe.
What? Shut it, Clarence! If you get injured, the advocates get results.
AdvocatesLaw.com.
What's up? It's your boy, the Ted Smith. Thanks for listening to the Men's Room Daily Podcast. Want more? Check out the greatest podcast in all the land, The Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and listen to a brand new episode every Tuesday night.
99.9 KISW. We return to the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill.
Guys got a chance to try the Men's Room Original Ale. It's back. We brought the OG back.
Damn right.
Men's Room Original Ale, tasty and delicious. And, of course, portion net proceeds benefit our three local Fisher houses in the area.
That is correct.
So you're doing good every time you try one. There is a list of some of the bars that have it on tap at KISW.com. If not, let's see if you can pick it up at local Fred Meyer. I've seen it at the QFC. You said, Ted, up in Capitol Hill. How's it, your neighborhood?
Yep, they got it.
Okay, yep.
Gas station around the corner from my house. They got it.
Tasty and delicious. Men's Room
indeed.
Original Ale. Get it while you can. Give it a shot. KISW.com, again, has some of the locations where you can pick up the beer.
One of the question you just asked, what is it? What have you won?
Yeah,
something along those lines.
Most money you've won, or if you've ever won anything big.
Actually, the first thing I ever won in third grade, I won a goldfish. Sure, it died 3 days later because we didn't know that you don't just put it in tap water. But hey, I was proud of my victory. But someone here says, my wife and I won the Slash guitar that you're giving away. We've been riding high ever since.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
I've glimpsed it once. Looks cool.
Not only that, but you're going to go to the show.
Uh-huh.
So you won the tickets and you won the autographed guitar.
But
Winning something's always fun. Even if it's just a little prize, like you're like, all right, I won.
Mm-hmm. But I will say this. All right, like, it's great when people win things. It is cool if you can be the facilitator of people winning things, unless they win the thing that you would like, right? So you won the Slash guitar.
Right.
And that is very cool. I like the Slash guitar. I have seen the Slash guitar. I'm like, that is a very cool guitar. There's this goddamn sitting, but we can't have it. Can't touch it. See, you give it away. Told you, working with the Maryland State Lottery, just giving away scratch-offs to people, and
most
you
of the time,
hear them celebrate. One woman hit so big, and I'm like, she's all excited, and she's hugging me, and I'm thinking, I want to punch you in the face. Like, I literally cannot play the Maryland Lottery now. Not because I work for them. I just happen to work with them for 1 hour a week.
I did that. I used to have a whole stack of those cards.
But you couldn't do them, right?
We go to a bar. Went to this one bar all the time. Away. It was one of those bars where you could, where they had peanuts on the counter and you could throw your peanut shells on the floor.
Yeah.
It was in Hagerstown, Maryland. We would go there and
that could be anywhere, Miles.
Hand out lottery tickets, and our deal was this, man. Like, look, you hit big, man. You got to buy us like a beer or pitcher, right?
That's fair.
But at least you did it at a bar. We did it at a tailgate. So if you hit big, like, there's nothing for you to buy. There's no way for me to. Well, that's not true. I get the occasional Jell-O shot and all that, but I'm like, I kind of hate this.
Do you guys think I'll ever hit a scratch off?
For like
what
big,
kind
big
of money are we talking?
I mean, just any kind of money.
What's the most you've won?
$150. Probably 10 years ago on my birthday.
I mean, at the rate you play them, it seems like you should win $1,000 once in a while.
No,
I don't
seems
know,
like you should have won.
I don't want to know the numbers on this. You know what I'm saying?
So you buy what, 2 a day?
One or two a day. Yeah.
1 or 2 a day. So let's say 7.5 a week, every work week for 10 years, and you've hit what, 150 is the most you've won?
That's the most.
I remember I bought one once, scratched it off, and won like $80 or something. You're just like, F you.
Go figure.
Like, oh, yeah.
Go figure.
Random.
Guess who it is, Ted? James, welcome to the Men's Room.
Hola, de cholas.
Hola. James, welcome to the program. Random question. Okay, let's go with this one. James, what word in the English language do you find to be kind of gross sounding? Maybe it's not supposed to be gross, but it's one of those words when you hear it, you go, like cake can be moist.
Right.
Huh.
But most
English,
Yes, the language you speak.
Yes, I know. Honestly, I'd say, I don't know. I'd say, yeah, maybe moist is like the most, I don't know, questionable, weird word, but...
Everyone agrees. Yeah. Why is that? Is it because we know what it means, or is it the sound? Moist, right? Like nobody likes hearing the word.
I don't... I'd say it'd probably be like the way it sounds. I don't know.
All right. Well, damp is the equivalent of moist.
I was going to say, damp's right there, too. Like, there's not a ton of good damp stuff.
There's not good damps. But
yeah, but damp is
it's more of a negative connotation, not a gross connotation,
for example,
right?
If you were to sit on your couch and your dog used the bathroom on it, when you sat down and be like, oh, God, this cushion is damp, I think the dog peed on the couch.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You would never say, ooh, this cushion is moist. I think the dog peed on the couch.
I feel like moist is more of a mystery, right? Mm-hmm. So if you say something's damp, we understand why it is moist, but when you say moist, you're just saying, hey, it's damp, and I have no idea why.
And moist to me means like, it might be wet just because it's so hot.
Might be.
You know what I mean? Like damp, I'm like, all right, okay. It's like the fall, there's been some rain or something. Moist could be like, it's moist under this shirt.
But if you say moisture, if you say moisturizer, like women will go out and buy like moisturizer for the.
But that word is not
no
disturbing.
Problem, right? Mm-hmm. Even if it says moisturizer in big ass letters on the jar, but if it just said it'll make your skin moist, I'd be like, man, you got to throw it away. That's just gross.
But moist, sometimes, like I'd rather have some.
I'd have a woman say I'm moist as opposed to damp. I'm trying to think. Has anyone ever said? Because I've heard about. Oh,
I'm so
getting
damp.
No.
You can't be moist. Moist in a positive is if you go get a sheet cake for your birthday at QFC or the Fred Meyer.
Yeah, baking goods can be moist.
The cupcakes they make. You're like, man, these are so good.
But they never say
delicious.
Damp.
You say moist and delicious.
It could be a moist morning.
No, it's a dewy morning.
It'll be damp outside.
Yeah.
You know, you might get some moisture, but you're right. And a sexual connotation, I'd rather hear moist than damp.
Just stop it.
I guess
I'm already damp.
Dew is more from humidity, right?
I guess.
For the most part.
But again, in Ted's situation, he said, I'm awfully dewy. I mean, I'm still in, but like, hey man, pick different words. Some people are saying, let's see, where was it? The term that someone can't take, moist crevice. Oily discharge. Discharge is not a great
discharge bad.
Unless it's military, right? Discharge by
jail.
weapon, or I was discharged from jail, discharged from the military. But if the doctor says, well, part of the problem you're having is discharge. It doesn't matter what part of your body is discharging. It's absolutely disgusting. Someone else, just the word vagina. They're like, I know what it is. I like it, but it's such a terrible, horrible. What about
no?
No, because you know what it is.
Yeah, no,
but it's not a great word. If somebody said, all right, we have discovered this thing called a woman, all right, and we're just going to call these breasts. Maybe you can nickname it boobs. If they said, Miles, you get to name this part. Mm-hmm. There's no way you come up with something vagina.
That's why there's so many. That's why there's so many euphemisms.
Exactly, because it's not a great word, right? Someone else says smegma. I agree.
Schmegma.
Pus. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pus is tough, man. But is it because it sounds gross, or is it because you know what it is? And can anyone here tell me what pus is exactly?
It's an infection.
No,
but
it's an infected discharge.
It is. It's the object of an infection. You're the object of my infection
that is discharging from a wound.
Is it
or a infected area?
I thought that's what it was. So. It's white blood cells. It says a thick yellowish or greenish opaque liquid produced in infected tissue consisting of dead white blood cells and bacteria with tissue debris and serum.
All right, a couple other words people have thrown out there. What do you think of the word mildew?
It's never
but it's not good
it's
ever.
What it is. It's what it is. And just that black nastiness that when you experience it and you get into it, like if you've ever had that situation before, like I have replaced a shower. Yeah, on a bathroom where the walls around it were just just the grout and stuff. It was obviously leaking through. You could see the mold coming through. Yeah, where the caulk is or wherever the grout is. So that was replaced when they tore down that old shower. Yeah, the old bathroom. The color of those walls. It was like, oh my god! Like we had to do that was expensive to get that crap taken care of. It was not good.
A few more that come in. Let's see, seepage.
Seepage?
Mm-hmm. Coagulate.
What about just mold?
But I don't think it's a gross word. I know what it is. and it's not positive, but the word itself doesn't bug me, right? You could have a Jell-O mold. I go like, okay. A wax mold. All right. I know that mold itself is not something great, but the word doesn't scare me out. I feel like you could not know the English language, okay? You've never heard anyone ever speak English. And if I turn around and just go, moist, that person's still like, oh, I don't know what you mean, but shut up.
What about kumquat?
Kumquat's a terrible name for anything that you want people to eat in certain situations. Yeasty, and soggy.
Ooh, okay, those are not bad.
Ooh, clammy. Clammy's not bad.
Clammy. All
Because
right.
clammy is never a description of, like, even if you get Clam's Casino, you don't say it tastes clammy. Clammy is always negative.
No, clammy.
Like I shook their hand,
exactly.
and their hand was clammy.
Clammy.
And you know why? Because it's moist.
God, I hate that. Like every once in a while, before COVID,
vulva.
Before COVID, we would have someone come into the studio. We would do interviews and everything else, and depending on the level of the person coming in and how much you admire them or
Sure.
whatever the deal is, if it's somebody who but it's not really a big deal for you to meet them. Then it's, Ice Cube walking in the studio.
Right.
And you start getting nervous, you know what I mean? He reaches out his hand, you're like, am I clammy? And
to me, what clammy is? Clammy means I'm moist, but instead of being warm, my hands are unusually cold.
Right. It's
how
all
are
of
you
that.
cold and wet?
Nervous, because you're nervous.
I know, but it's still gross, man.
Or you're sick.
Or you're sick, right? Ointment. Someone does not like that word.
Ointment.
Ejaculate. I agree. You would come up with a better term. That's why there's so many slang terms for this stuff. Because vagina, penis, and
Shouldn't it
ejaculate.
be called ejection?
Why? Why do we add the extra, right? You're ejecting something.
ejection.
Why can't it just be? It's not like if you're in a plane and it's crashing. He ejaculated from the cockpit.
No,
he ejected, which is roughly the same
because
thing.
he was in a cockpit, so they can't come
But I don't think you wouldn't say you eject poop out of you.
But I do.
I mean, you do.
That's not how I explain it.
You do the opposite. You take it. Even though you leave it,
Right.
you take it.
Yeah.
But I mean, technically you do, right? Like if I'm vomiting, he's ejecting this from his system. If you're pooping, peeing, any of that stuff.
But no one says I got to go poop. I say I got to go blow one out. There's always, you never use poop except for when it's someone else's. Oh, watch out, there's poop on the sidewalk. Or come on.
Right, if it's
come
not
on,
yours,
guy,
it's poop.
Let's go out. So please poop. It's raining. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the only. You
don't poop.
You don't say poop if it's yours.
Right.
If it's somebody else's, then
You
say-
don't?
No.
I think I say it all the time.
I got to go poop.
I texted somebody yesterday. I'm pooping my brains out.
You texted them this.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
It was just an update on how the morning was going.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like after a certain age, then it's like we always say with kids, kid, they have a little wee-wee, then they have a penis. And I'm like, you're going to hit puberty and you're going to pick one of 4 different adjectives to describe it, and it will be that way for the rest of your life.
I feel like I often say out loud in my bed, all right, get up, you got to go poop.
Well, I'm definitely an esser, unless the kids are.
I'll say I always say stuff like I got a heater coming on.
But that's different, because you're describing it this is a specific style of poop that I must do.
I'm crowning.
Right.
There's always
You're
something.
kind of explaining we know how it ends, but
Right.
you're explaining where you are in the
Right,
situation.
exactly. You know what I mean? If the bear's coming out of the cage.
Yeah, the Gopher's poking his head up. You're like,
Exactly.
we understand, man.
Time
Go.
for a little whack-a-mole.
Right.
So the reason we asked what word sounds gross to you, someone looked at different polls on gross-sounding words and came up with a master list of the grossest words in the English language. Here are some that almost made the top 10.
All right.
Okay? We have congeal. For some reason, people do not like congeal.
It's not a good sounding word.
How would you use it for the most part? I'm waiting for.
I feel like
The grease has congealed.
Outside of cooking, the only time I hear it is if there's a pool of blood.
Correct.
Right? The
Yes,
blood
yes.
congealed and blah, blah, blah.
Snot is on the list. So is diarrhea, secrete, loogie, and discharge. Those are all words that almost made the top 10. Here are the top 10 most disgusting, gross-sounding words in the English language, according to this guy's research, or this person's. Number 10 is curd, as in cheese curds.
Yeah.
That word doesn't bother me because I only associate it with cheese curds, and cheese curds are delicious.
Awesome. Had some Saturday.
They are, but it's close to curdle. I think that's why it bugs people, right?
Well, that's typically with dairy, like if milk curdles,
exactly.
or if whatever. So that's, but it is curd. Number 9 is putrid.
That word to me sounds like what it describes.
Putrid is something that is disgusting, but it has a very foul odor, correct?
Yeah.
Putrid, though, kind
Usually-
of going back to what Thrill was saying earlier. Like, I don't find that word that disgusting. If something's putrid, you know it's going to be gross.
I think that it does not gross me out the word, but it is an ugly word, but I do feel like it's a very good word for what it is that it describes.
Number 8 on the gross sounding words, ooze. People do not like ooze. Ooze does not bother me. If something is oozing, it's oozing.
It is. When is ooze used in a positive?
I'm oozing with excitement.
You know what? Yeah. All right.
That's about the only time I can think of it, other than
You're
something
right. It's a
oozing out of
description of how
somebody's...
you
It's not
feel.
good.
If it's a physical description, it's bad.
There's something
Yeah.
oozing out of the back of this toilet.
Right.
What is that? Number 7 is mucus. So,
Yeah.
including loogie and discharge and snot, we also have mucus on the list of number 7. Number 6 is fester.
A couple people said fester here.
Fester. Does that bother you?
Again, just because I know what it is, but the word itself isn't the worst.
Number 5 is splooge.
Somebody here added
What
that
is
as well.
splooge is a real word?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody here.
Why don't you look up the definition of it?
Splooge. Right.
Number 4 is moist. Number 3 is seepage. Seepage was the grossest word according to men.
A lot of people said seepage here.
Seepage, what is that, like you're swampy for a day, maybe?
No, I feel like seepage is a cousin of ooze. You know, you have
What about-
seepage, so we had to change your bandage because it's oozing. You know what I'm saying?
What about swampy?
swampy? That doesn't bug me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a better way of saying my ass is moist, right? We pick swampy because it's better than saying damp or moist. We know what it means. That's just the least harsh way of saying.
I don't got to poop. I just got to go in and wipe.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple like, hey, man, I'm swampy.
Number 2 is phlegm.
But again, Thrill's right. You would say, I'm feeling swampy, and we'd all nod and be like, I've been there. You gotta go wipe. But if you were like, there's some moisture in the back of my underwear.
You're disgusting.
Yeah, like, damn, dude.
So phlegm is number 2. Again, we've already had secrete. We've already had loogie. We've already had snot. And what else? Ooze. So there's a lot of this going on. Mucus was on the list as well. And number 1 is pus. It's the clear winner, believe it or not, partly because a lot of women voted for it. We had a woman we used to work with, Mike, back in Baltimore. I think we just brought her up the other day for some dumb reason. Her trigger word, panties. And she would admit it. She would tell you flat out.
Who was it? Was it
Marianne.
Oh, God, yeah. Mary Lou Retton there.
Yeah, she would say basically, look, no one could say panties in her house. For whatever reason, they were undergarments, they were underwear. I was like, what is your big deal? She's like, it just skeeves me out to say panties.
She did not like the word. You're right. I remember that.
And it was just so weird. I was like,
I didn't like
panties?
saying that around her because I didn't want to imagine.
I think it depends on the situation. Like I told you, my buddy would always reference, now granted, his daughter's grown up now.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah, like top drawer is all of her panties. I'm like, it's a toddler. Don't say panties. But that's just what his family called women's underwear. Whereas I feel like if I hear panties, I'm thinking of like, you know.
To me, it was
It's
more of a
just underwear.
sexual thing.
Yeah.
Because growing up, movies like, Porky's and all that, and went on panty raids and all that, right? So as a child, I said, okay, I understand it as women's undergarments, but specifically sexy ones. And then as I've gotten older, most women that I meet are like, only dudes call them panties. We just call them underwear. Like, that's it, man. I'm like, all right, fair enough.
But to me, that is something that, like, I would buy my kids in a 6-pack. You know what I mean? Because they needed them. But when you become an adult, it doesn't seem like that's what you call them anymore. You call them underwear.
I would not associate panties with my daughter. Like, to me, she's getting underwear.
Right.
You know what I mean? If my wife said I have panties, I'd find that odd for her to say. But to me, panties associate with adults. And I recognize how stupid this is. But in my mind, like my kid,
I'm just picturing
you
her
just
being
have
like,
underwear.
I have panties.
Right.
Like, why are you saying that?
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
the term that bothered me the most was when I was growing up was jockstrap.
Why?
Because it was always a question. You got your jock strap on?
Right.
You got your cup? Like, I don't need to wear a jock. No, your cup's not going to fit. Like, I don't need a jock strap. Like, they are so uncomfortable.
You never wore a jock?
I mean, no.
Oh.
No.
Playing with the devil, my
I was
friend.
a disaster, man.
You know what?
I never was a catcher, though. I never was a third baseman. You just, you know what I mean? Like, if you got grabbed in a pile, whatever, you just got grabbed in a pile or punched. I never got, you know what I mean?
I was pro cup.
You were pro cup?
Yeah, but I play, playing Little League and stuff, I always played like first base or catcher or third base.
You got to remember,
or play like the line in football. Like, I just feel like the law of averages was I was going to get hit.
When you were in Little League, though, when they pour open the equipment bag, there's only one cup in there. So, like, after 3 innings, they pull that catcher. If you go in to catch, He just takes the cup out of his pants, hands it to you. You grab it
Like
in your
you
own
should be
hand,
cool with that.
and jam it right down in your pants. And there was never even a doubt that this is what you were going to do.
Here's a word I agree with. There's nothing wrong with this product. It took me a while as a child to try this food because of the name. Quiche.
Quiche.
There's nothing wrong with quiche.
It sounds French.
But but it sounds like French for something on your body. You ever had a girl put her fingers on your quiche? You know what I mean? Like, as a child...
That's your gilly.
It might be my gilly. But a quiche was moist, it was on my body, and it's illegal to show in public.
I actually enjoy a quiche.
I like quiche now. It's just, I hate the word.
More of the Random Question coming up, 206-421-ROCK.
New on Curiosity Stream, he allows them their riches
Putin has to be the richest of the rich.
in exchange for their loyalty.
The oligarchs have supported someone for president that they underestimated.
The illicit affair between Russia's elite and the man who rules them on Putin and the oligarchs. And World War II Normandy. An obscure battle training session takes a tragic turn. Uncover the one secret military catastrophe on the secret D-Day disaster. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit CuriosityStream.com.
Oh, drat. I was driving along minding my own business when that vulgar leech hit my Beamer with his pickup truck. I fear I've fractured my clavicle.
I say, old boy, don't simply put it in the hands of your insurance company to sort it out. Talk with a dedicated row of solicitors at the Advocates Law Firm.
Pipe down, you old sod. The advocates will see your case through to the bitter end and won't sleep a fortnight until they have victory in their grasp.
Jolly good, old man. Jolly good indeed. You get injured, the advocates get results. AdvocatesLaw.com.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. When we think about the COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in the Black community, let's remember, it didn't happen by chance. It's justified in history. But the will to change the narrative is strong today, and our people are lending their voices to the conversation. We're sharing our stories and the reasons that made us choose the vaccine so we can lead the way for others to make a well-informed choice too. To hear our stories, visit hereforuswa.org.
The men's room returns with Miles and Thrill.
Well, if you were on hold, you aren't anymore. So call back, 206-421-ROCK. We'll get the bugs worked out in the meantime.
By the way, a few more words coming in. I like what this guy says. It says, to me, the word gorgeous sounds like something that hit a wall as you're saying it, even though it's a good word. It's just not a good sounding word. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And then someone else, not that it's a gross word, it's just a stupid word. And I remember the first time I heard this, I was in school, the entire class laughed. Gubernatorial.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so in the world of elections, it is what it is, but the first time you hear it as a kid, anytime you put goober in front of anything, it's funny.
Well, goober typically meant someone who was not the sharpest tack.
Right, so gubernatorial, I remember we were dying.
Like, what a goober.
Yeah, we thought the teacher was making it up. Teacher's like, no, it was Mr. Ross, the history teacher. Like, that's just a serious word, kid. I'm like, gubernatorial. But I remember asking my parents later, have you heard of gubernatorial? They're like, yeah, we know exactly what that is. It's not as stupid as it sounds. And then someone else makes a point, and I like this. They say, look, if you can say words that have a negative connotation, and because we know what they are, they end up becoming bad. But if you don't know what something is, it might sound awesome. And he made the point, he said, you've never heard these terms before, all right? And I just go, Ted, me and Miles, we're going to Guantanamo Bay, we're going waterboarding, bro. You in?
Yeah, right? Sounds fun.
It sounds awesome until you know what it is, and you're like, oh, God, no. That is a good point, though.
Yeah.
Actually, the first time I even heard that term, I did not know what it was. When I kind of wrote, early in the 20th century or 21st century, and they're talking about waterboarding. I'm like, man, I keep reading this. Obviously, it's a negative thing, but I'm not understanding, because, again, in my mind, it's like, wait, you're taking them to the beach, giving them, like, some fiberglass, and they go, like, what is this? And if I'm like, oh, God, come up with a better name for it, man.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. Like, there's sometimes you hear terms, you go, I don't know what that is. Somebody explains it to you, you go, I'm glad I don't know what that is.
Yes. Any disease. That's you know what I mean? Just, you can say, I have anything. And once people say these long words, like, you have it. Or someone close to you does, right?
What is it? To me, it's still cancer.
Yeah, but it's...
I mean, like, it's a terrifying thing. It's a terrifying word. It depends
what you put before.
It's the last thing you ever want to hear someone say to you. As far as whether it's your personality, whether it's your diagnosis.
You're a cancer to the business.
Whatever it is.
But it could also be your sign, depending when you're born. It was like a summer sign.
Yeah, that's fine.
So if someone says, hey, I'm a cancer.
Then you go, I've always thought that.
Are you talking about your astrological sign, or is this a description of your personality?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Both. You live up to it. You suck.
Hello, Adam. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola, bitches.
Hola. Adam, welcome to the program. Random question. All right, let's go with this one. Who would you say was your hero when you were a kid growing up? Who did you look up to? Whether it's fictional, nonfiction, whatever.
Oh, Hulk Hogan, all the way.
Hulk Hogan.
How old are you?
I'm 44.
Oh, that's about the time then, dude.
Yeah, he was the man.
Once he took out Andre, like his world exploded. He had his own cereal, had his own cartoon, did a couple of really bad but movies nevertheless.
See, I think before that, I really liked Roddy Piper.
Sure.
There was a bunch of guys that I were, like before Hogan took off and became the man. Because I watched wrestling for, a decade before that. So there are a number of guys, whether it's like Dusty Rhodes or...
But Hogan kind of put it all on the map.
The Mad Dog.
Because everyone knew who Andre the Giant was, right? And that
or Junkyard Dog.
Was that...
I had a Junkyard Dog doll.
Was that, whatever it is, 3? WrestleMania 3, I want to say, the Hulk Hogan.
Well, those are the 3 horsemen.
It was early on, and when he took him down, I mean, that put wrestling, wrestling was on the map, but it became like the thing, and Hulk Hogan, of all the people in the world, was absolutely on top of it.
My guy was...
But Hulk Hogan also, that was just a gimme that you liked him.
You did,
yeah. You know what I mean? There was other guys you kind of I felt like when I was a kid, there was other guys you looked out for more, because Hogan was just Hulk Hogan. He told you to eat your vitamins and this and that. Everybody liked Hulk Hogan.
You know what my introduction to Hulk Hogan was? Honest to God, I was unaware of who he was, but Rocky 3. I don't know if you remember toward the beginning, Rocky's doing a charity fight. He's fighting a guy named Thunderlips, who is played by Hulk Hogan. And then Rocky or whatever, and I just remember this giant-ass blonde dude, picked him up, slammed him on the ground, just beat the hell out of him in the ring. My dad's like, that's Hulk Hogan. I'm like, oh, that's Hulk Hogan. All right. Great actor.
My grandfather took me to wrestling at a field house in the town that he grew up in. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was like one of those things. I think it was, at the time, it was Georgia Championship Wrestling.
All right.
And this is before Turner bought it. There was a traveling group of guys that would go to these different federations, these different conferences.
All right.
So, no matter what conference you watched, even if you were in Canada or whatever, you could still see Andre the Giant. And you can still see
he was one of the few that traveled well.
Yeah, there was a number of them that were just kind of like superstars. And one of the guys was a guy named George the Animal Steele.
Ugliest man ever.
And his gimmick was, he was like a math teacher.
He was a math teacher.
Or something crazy. He would come out and he would bite the turnbuckle.
Yeah.
And just start chewing it and then spit the foam out.
And he was just bald and fat and hairy. That was literally it.
I was down on the front row with because my grandfather, he knew people.
Right.
He loved wrestling. That's all we did was watch wrestling together. So we had front row tickets, man. We were ringside seats. And we were right in that corner where George the Animal Steele started spitting out the foam. So I reached down to pick up some of the foam, and my grandfather was like, don't touch that. And I was like, because I want to take it home.
Right.
I was like, why not? Man, he's like, he had it in his mouth, and he spit it out, whatever. But that match was between him and my favorite wrestler at the time, who was a guy named Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Sure.
Now, his move was he'd get up on top of the ring and fly through the air, man. And I love, even if we were doing stuff like building forts in the living room and all that stuff.
Oh, God,
we'd put the cushions out, and then we'd come from the top of the chair, and we'd Jimmy Superfly Snook it. You know what I'm saying? It was just
looking back, I will say this, right? So there's all these TikTok challenges and all that, and people get up in arms. And I bet you Jimmy Superfly Snuka, at least in our age group, was responsible for more injuries to kids, not because he was a bad dude, but you're right, his move was to jump. So, I mean, you could be on the 8th step of your house, right? And you decide, even if you're trying to go to Sizzler, and you decide you're going to take these next 8 steps, I'm going to Superfly Snuka, and you crash into the coffee table, or landing on your friends, or jumping off of trampolines. But you're right, everyone, it was Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
And I'll never forget that match, too, because Jimmy Superfly Snuka comes from the top. He takes George the Animal Steele out, all right? But then from the side, what the hell was that guy's name? Oh, God. He had he used to put a Iron Mike Sharp. He used to put, supposedly, a metal bar within his leather wrist straps that he wore, like his forearm straps.
All right. So the refs never knew, of course.
So he comes out with the ref. After the ref basically had, turned around for a minute to address a manager, I can't remember who the hell it was, Iron Mike Sharp comes in. and takes his forearm to Snuka's head. And Snuka's knocked out. And so Georgiano Steele rolls on top of him and gets the pin and the win. My grandfather, who is 60 years old, jumps up almost to the ring and is like, Mike Sharp's got a thing in his head. Like he's a cheater. He's a cheater. And like, it was just like, that was just like the environment of the whole thing.
Right.
Like, it was like, this was way before, like, a lot of the, you knew that there was some elements of all that stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, he was taken very seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Especially by my grandfather and everybody that was really into wrestling. They were all in, like, don't let that man cheat. You know what I mean? Like, but they were dead serious. He's going to cheat. You know what I mean?
How many arguments did you have, like, in elementary school? Half of you figured out that it must be fake, right? You just can't take that punishment. And the other half, they were like, dude, it is not fake. I remember there was a kid named Chris Stangline, went to my elementary school, and he got in an argument with another kid, Donald Wade, I believe, and they are arguing about the validity of, I guess, WWE had just formed. And Donald Wade was like, dude, like, it is impossible that you cannot take a beating like that. Just night after night after Chris Stangline was like, no, dude, they're just tougher than you. I'm telling you, blah, blah, blah. So and this God's honest truth, we're in the locker room in gym. So Donald Wade picks up one of those folding chairs and smashes Chris Stangline with it, knocks him in the locker. And I mean, Chris Stang's like bleeding out of everything. And Donald's like, well, get up.
Yeah.
Get up, man. Because this is all.
I feel like by the time, like, I was a kid and stuff, like, I feel like we kind of knew.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's entertainment, dummy. Like, come on, but
it was still awesome, and we loved it.
Sure,
but when my mom, when my mom moved in to take care of my grandfather and my grandmother. My grandmother's still around, believe it or not. She's like 97 years old, but it was like the first phone I ever had where you could take pictures and send pictures and all that stuff. We had this event at the Baltimore Arena, and it was like WCW Nitro or whatever they did on Monday night. I can't remember exactly what it was. So I started we were there all day during the taping. Basically the way it goes
might have
down
been Nitro.
They do all the scenes that you see in between the matches, all the backstage stuff, like the limo getting, hijacked or like whatever the deal is. Like they film all that stuff beforehand. That's why a lot of times when you see the video that's being put up on the screen or on your television screen, there's a lot of shots that are outside in daylight.
Yeah, even though it's nighttime.
Even though it's nighttime in Baltimore, whatever. So I took all these. Everybody that I wanted to get a picture with, it was just like I thought was cool as hell. I got a picture with, and I sent him to my mom to show my granddad. And my granddad's like, he kept like, ask him what Goldberg is like. Because I sent him a picture of Goldberg. I'm like, he's the nicest guy in the world. You've never seen anybody as big as this guy before.
Goldberg's
a Bill.
Monster.
He was huge, right?
Yeah.
And there was another guy named Sting.
Yeah,
who my grandfather liked. So anybody that I could take a picture with, I did. And who the hell was the one guy that he hated that I took a picture with? Body something. I can't remember the guy's name, but I sent
Ventura.
It was the guy I went to lunch with, and I still can't remember. He went into porn for a while.
Buff Bagwell.
Buff Bagwell.
Yeah.
Buff's got the stuff. My grandfather hated Buff Bagwell.
He used to run around with Scott Steiner
because he was all tight. You know what I mean? Like as far as shave and everything.
And he was buff.
My grandfather said, "You tell Buff Bagwell if he ever comes here, I'm going to boo the entire time he wrestles." You know what I mean?
Wrestles.
He was dead serious.
I told you our greatest was outside the Baltimore Arena. Like by the time you get to high school, right? Like it's fake and stuff, but we still had fun. But yeah, somebody's dad took us. We went and saw, and there was a guy called the Godfather, and he always had like his hose with him.
Yeah, I remember him.
Right. So they would just go to a local strip club or whatever. But I remember we were up in that parking garage, and it's like 3 high school boys and the dad, and we're yelling down or whatever, and the Godfather's yelling back at us. And he's like, and we're like, yeah. And all those girls flashed us. Mm-hmm. And to this day,
how awesome was that?
It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
he became your favorite, didn't he?
For sure. Like it was great. You know what I mean? Like that's something. I'm just like, we saw boobs that night.
Right. Well, the most messed up part about I think that whole day for me was when we were eating lunch. It was kind of like in a hotel restaurant area where all the wrestlers stayed in the hotel. So I'm sitting there with whoever was the WWE, I don't know, handler or one of those people, kind of like a record rep that goes around with a band, but it was Buff's and somebody else's. And we're sitting there, and the person, the lady who's like his manager, his whatever, she goes, "Oh no." And I was like, "What?" And I look up, and Buff turns around, and Diamond Dallas Page walked in. And I was like, "Oh, I know the storyline. Diamond Dallas Page, Buff Bagwell, had sex with Diamond Dallas Page's girlfriend, wife, whatever it was, right?" And I was like, do they have to carry this on outside of this so that people think that this stuff is real? And she leans into me and she goes, no, man, it really happened.
Like, oh, damn.
He wants to kill him.
Yeah, Buff is kind of famous for that.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, really? I was like, I don't feel comfortable at this table because Diamond Dallas Page was a much bigger dude than Buff Bagwell was.
Was he?
It wasn't that Buff Bagwell wasn't big and cut up. Diamond Dallas Page was just a taller, bigger dude.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Like, it's not all fake.
Like when we met, Macho Man wasn't the biggest guy.
Not height-wise.
You know what I mean? He was just, he would be a big dude.
Sure.
But he just, you didn't, when you saw him in a ring, he looked larger than life.
Right.
Compared to when you're standing beside him, you're like, he's shorter than I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You didn't really put it together.
Well, John Cena is big, but he's like my height.
Yeah, he was not tall.
Was he big when he came? Was he wide when he came?
Oh, yeah.
That dude is so wide. I'm like, like you can talk about The Rock. The Rock is built. He's huge.
Yeah, weighs 6'7" too.
But even just his shoulder width. You know what I mean? Like, just he needs the muscle mass he has just to make sense of the way his body frame is.
Race, we asked, who was your hero when you were a kid? 3 boys in Bolivia learned the hard way that with great power comes fevers, tremors, and muscle pains, as they tried to inherit the powers of Spider-Man.
Uh-oh.
By letting a black widow spider bite them. The boys, aged 8, 10, and 12, fortunately did not succumb to the unfortunate incident and were released from a hospital a week later, sadly sans the superpower. According to a report from officials, the 3 boys were herding goats when an 8-legged inspiration struck them as they discovered a spider who black and red and white markings reminded them of their superhero. So, spurred on by the allure of Spidey's senses and the ability to climb walls and shoot webs, they decided to try and make the spider bite them so that they could be like their famed hero.
Then I guess the spider eventually obliged.
Unfortunately, the creature did bite them, and the potent venom that they decided to poke the spider with in a stick to attempt to goad it into biting him, it did. It took the bait and bit all 3 boys, who were later found crying by their mother. She rushed the boys to a nearby health center.
Come on,
boys. To be improving their
just
condition.
like Spider-Man.
Oh my God! Yes, that was their week. They spent it in the house.
Kids, remember, it has to be a radioactive spider. That's the only way it's safe.
Sure.
Hello, Darren. Welcome to the men's room.
Hey, hola, bitches.
Hola.
Darren, welcome to the program. The random question. All right. Let's see, Darren, you could probably answer this one. What would you say is the biggest scam that you've either been a part of, whether you were the scammer or the victim? You ever been scammed?
I've been scammed, but not hard. It's probably a drug deal.
Okay.
I was just kind of a bystander, driving around with these guys I didn't know very well. It's probably late 70s, early 80s, as like a freshman. But we came in this house, and there was so much powder on the table, I couldn't believe it. But they sold this guy baking powder instead for like $6,000 back in 1980.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, people were going out. It was crazy.
But if you drop $6,000, how much coke was that? If you're dropping $6,000 on cocaine, I mean, that's pounds, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was huge.
But it was all baking soda?
I've been scammed on weed.
Well, no, he had real stuff, and he was selling off baking powder. He stopped in for about 30 minutes and sold to a few people and then took off. Scammed everybody.
Yeah, taking off was the right thing to do at that point.
Yeah.
You're selling fake drugs. You pretty much got to leave the area.
You got to do the finger test, right?
Yeah.
Just like the cops say on every TV show you've seen.
The times I've seen that movie before, we'd already done the drugs before we walked out the door.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like anything else. Like you might go and pick up some weed at somebody's house or whatever. And maybe they're smoking or whatever. You don't pull the nug out and sample it right there. You know what I mean?
Most of the time,
say,
no.
hey, do you want to smoke? You say, all right, man, if you're friends and you want to sit down. But if you're just doing a business transaction,
yeah, grab the weed, you roll.
You just figure it's going to be good. I've gotten scammed with parsley on that before when I was a freshman in college or in high school. But reason asked, what's the biggest scam you were a part of, whether you were the scammer or the victim? A Tempe, Arizona Home Depot employee is facing federal charges after authorities said he repeatedly took cash from the store and replaced it with counterfeit currency before depositing it in the bank. According to the U.S. Secret Service, Agents from the Phoenix field arrested Adrian Pineda, a vault employee of the store, who was responsible for counting cash and preparing it for deposit. Basically, what he was doing was he was buying fake money online. He was buying counterfeit bills off of Amazon.
Where apparently you can get counterfeit bills.
And then swabbing them. I want to say I think it was like 10 or $100 bills was like $9. I can't remember exactly what it was. But anyway, they recorded $387,000 in losses due to counterfeit notes. And they say they're funny money. So when you look at the money themselves,
it actually says funny.
It just says play money, not for real, not for resale.
So what do you think? You just buried it in the stacks of cash, you deposit it, and then by the time they separate it and find it, you hope they don't trace it back?
I guess so. Your guess is as good as mine. Coming up, we got your categories, the most dangerous sports, and your favorite breakfast cereals. That's coming up next. You are listening to The Men's Room.
New on Curiosity Stream, she was a loving wife, a devoted mother. She also stole atomic secrets and gave them to the Soviets. Meet the woman whose deception kick-started the Cold War on the spy who stole the atom bomb. And
what if they catch you?
Then I shall be shot.
They're coming! Come back!
relive history's most death-defying escapes. It's Impossible Escapes, Civil War. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit CuriosityStream.com.